in the program. But one of our favorite guests, our buddy Stevenson Sylvester, Sly, back on the drive on a Tuesday. Sly, what's up, man? How are you?
Spence, how you doing?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right. I mean, whoever would have thought we would be talking about NASCAR as a unifier? You know what I mean?
Wow. Actually, when I was looking at it last night when I was reading all the news from it, and I was like, NASCAR was like one of the biggest, Republican type of not changing supporters. And what they did yesterday, I thought was tremendous. All of the people, which just goes to show it's like, people do have this ideology in their mind and they don't think that, racism exists and, this and that. So they just go about it and they try to act like it doesn't happen. But when it does happen, you can definitely tell that, it affects them in some kind of ways. Like, I am completely an a-hole for being ignorant. And then let's, do what we can to make up for this. And I think that's what happened with the NASCAR deal yesterday. A lot of people were more got a reality gut check as far as this is still real. And, they did the great thing and really supported Bubba. And I loved it. I loved every moment of it. I thought it was big of our country and a step in the right direction.
So let's stay in this space, Sly. I mean, look, you and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and I follow you on all the social platforms, and you talk about not getting comfortable. We have to keep the progress going, which means keep the uncomfortable conversations going. So that's what we'll do today. Tell me what the last couple of weeks have been like for you as you continue to follow along and see what the reaction is in our country.
I've definitely taken a sidestep with everything and just doing exactly what you said and really reviewing what's been going on, and just analyzing from there and making adjustments as I go. Kind of exactly what a linebacker's supposed to do, right? The offense lines up, you analyze and adjust. So that's kind of what I've been doing these last couple of weeks. Me and my mastermind group, we have a group of guys where we get together and we talk about positive stuff and what we're supposed to do to actually affect our communities and make change. We meet once a month, and this has been a big topic to where we've met more and more the past few weeks. But we've done some speaking engagements where we talk to groups, companies, and universities, whether they have certain classes or definitely athletes, and we talk to them about our perspective, of growing up or existing as people of color. And it's been tremendous because, the amount of people that have experienced it before and not done anything, but just know that it was wrong, but wants to make a change is incredible. So I think there's no time like the present to do stuff. So right now, me and my group, we're doing a lot where we're talking to people about the current situations, how we can improve as a people and become unified collectively. And then, just what we need to do right now as a country, because everybody's kind of lost. It's like, what do we do? And so I'm trying to do something to where I'm helping people understand of how we progress from here.
So let's follow up with that. I mean, what sort of things in that vein can you share with us on air as far as how we can progress and get better? It's interesting because we live in the perfect time to evolve. We have unbelievable access to information. Anyone that really cares to learn can learn about anything. Most importantly right now about race relations. If you want to learn, the information is at your disposal. The tools are there. So as you guys are going around speaking, what are you telling people about how we can move in the right direction?
Exactly what you do when you go on your mission, right? You go and immerse yourself in someone else's culture. The thing with America, we have so many we have a variety of cultures here in just America. But, those cultures are still trying to, shed light on their country's habits and how they go about things. So us as a people, if we want to learn, go immerse yourselves in those local community culture groups that they have going on. You always have the Asian Chamber of Commerce, the Latinos in Action, the Black Chamber of Commerce. They have events going on all the time. This past week of Juneteenth, they had so many different events. There's a lot of rich history that goes on there. And whatever you can do to educate yourselves and know what it's like to be somebody else is what I feel like what everybody needs to do. Don't, when you guys see things that say like, oh, this is a Black Lives Movement, or this is something for Jamaican heritage type thing, it's not just for them. It's for everybody to come support. So do what you can to go support all those things, to do what you do on your missions and go immerse yourselves in those cultures. I think that's the best way we can do to move forward, is try to understand the other side. Those other sides coming here to America have to immerse themselves in American culture. But, I think a part of American culture is the variety of people that are in America, right? We are a country of immigrants. So I think all of us needs to be able to accept one another for who they are. Asians need to accept blacks. Blacks need to accept Latinos. Latinos need to accept whites, and vice versa. And just do what we can to understand each other, and don't judge, each other based off of preconditioned thoughts. If I always think, deep in my mind, that racism is taught. So, there is no standard to make a man different than someone else. It's, you take them for who they are. You judge people on their actions, besides the color of their skin. As Martin Luther King said, people be judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. Let's actually do those things. A lot of people think like, oh, that's a black guy, he must like rap music, he must do gang type things, he must do that. There's these preconceived things, and we've seen it in the media, and that's what I've seen change in media in these last few years is, the standard for black characters has went up, as far as who they represent in movies and represent in more public events. Now black people are more politicians, they're more government officials, they're more bosses of companies, they're more leaders in these roles. And so you're seeing things that you've never seen before. You try to look at movies before 2000, and if you've ever seen a black president, I think the only black president was Morgan Freeman in Arrival in 97. But before that, there were nobody or a person of color in a higher position that was playing another role besides a personal assistant, an errand boy, or a drug dealer, or a gang member. But now times are changing, and it's great. So I would just help the change, help the transition, in making sure that people aren't judged by the color of their skin.
I think that mission parallel and analogy is really good, Sly, and it's interesting you bring it up because I have a friend who I truly believe is a really good person, but I think he's just full of some beliefs that kind of have to be knocked out of him a little bit. And we got on the phone a week ago because he wanted to talk about why saying all lives matter right now is just a little tone deaf and understand exactly what that means. And he went on his mission to Nigeria. And we were talking about, a guy like that who essentially chooses to live in ignorance when he spent 2 years of his life surrounded by black people in his mission. And he immersed himself in that culture and learned to really love the people. I think this mission thing is interesting because if you can spend 2 years of your life when you're spreading a message that you believe to be true to a group of people who
Right.
you learn to love, there's got to be a way that you can learn to love black people in your home instead of just when you're on your mission. That's a really interesting parallel. I like it a lot.
Yeah, and I have this conversation with one of my best friends. He went on a mission to Africa, and he was judged out there like black people are being judged in America. When he went to Africa, he was judged and had guns thrown on him because he was white. And what they know of white people in Africa is the white devils, just from historical things, and that's what he had to endure in Africa. And so when we talk, he talks to me, he's like, I can't, I spent 2 years, I was just on a mission, but you literally lived 30 plus years of your life here doing this. And, it is different. I think it's hidden in other ways because of, advancement and people, fighting, racism and prejudice back in the day. So they've definitely changed the narrative, but it's being hidden in other ways. with social injustice, with systemic racism. Those are the ways it's being hidden. As far as in Africa, when he went, it was blatant. It's like, look, you're a different color. We don't like you. But once he immersed himself in that culture in Africa, they loved him. They embraced him. One of his best friends now is somebody in Africa who I just met last year, and he wanted me to meet him. But it's just crazy what you can do when you actually truly believe you want to change, and what you're willing to do to make that change. It's incredible the things that you're capable of doing when you do that. So yes, Spence, I do think if we do what we do on our missions and go immerse ourselves in cultures, South America, Venezuela, China, Africa, Europe, wherever we take our missions, if we do that in our hometown, in our homeland where we live, we go immerse ourselves in all these different cultures, Latinos, the Black culture, the Jamaican culture, the Caribbean culture, anything that we have, take the time to go invest yourselves in something like that. It's tremendous.
I think that's really good, man. I haven't heard that yet. I think that's really good. Hey, I want to get your thoughts on a dynamic that I think you can kind of help all of us understand about what's what with this. I think it's safe to say, and look, I feel like I have learned a ton over the past few weeks, and I'm a little bit embarrassed that I didn't know more. I thought I did, but it's clear that I had a lot to learn, and I still do. And that's a process that continues on, and hopefully continues on with everybody. But what are your thoughts when it comes to not allowing people space to progress? I'll give you a couple of examples. Roger Goodell comes out with what I thought was a very heartfelt apology. And should he have been better before? Absolutely. But maybe he is finally understanding why the way they treated Colin Kaepernick was, not the right way to approach it. You know what I mean? And like that 100% is true, but at least he's realizing it. So instead of telling him to shut up after an apology, allow space for him to progress. Same thing with the LDS Church. The president of the LDS Church came out with a couple of different very powerful statements about how we're all equal and, under the eyes of God, we're all brothers and sisters. And all it is, folks, it feels like just blasting the LDS Church for blatantly racist things that happened a number of years ago instead of allowing space to grow. Like, what are your thoughts on allowing people that may have been misguided before to grow and get better right now?
This is, in Spence, I wish I could say I had the answer to all this. So anybody listening, don't take my word as this is exactly how it has to happen, because I don't truly know. Because I look at the NFL situation and I look at them capitalizing on a huge market opportunity right now, right?
Okay.
That's how I kind of look at it too. But as you said, you do have to allow somebody, give them forgiveness, and I respect anybody who owns up to their wrongs. And that's what I think is wrong with our government right now. And the leader of this country is he does absolutely nothing wrong. There's no possible way he could do something wrong. I don't even think it's in his vocabulary to say I did something wrong. And I think that's terrible. We all make mistakes. We're all born sinners. We all make mistakes, but own up to it. And so Roger Goodell owning up to it is great. I do want to give him another chance, but I do think at the same time it's an excellent opportunity for them to capitalize on a marketing opportunity. But then again, you look at it and it's like, why weren't you listening when I was actually doing this before? I never said it was about disrespecting the flag. I never said it. I want to bring attention to this justice for all that we say when we say Pledge of Allegiance. We say that there's justice for every single person in this country who represents the flag. And that's not true. And that's what I was trying to do by taking a knee, but you weren't listening before. Now that technology has taken off and we can see exactly what I was talking about at a heightened sense. It's crazy how much things are being showcased right now as far as injustices. But now at this point, 5-6 years later, now you want to recorrect yourself? It's like I've lost so many years of my playing career because of me being blackballed and nobody listening to me before. So I would feel some type of way if I'm Colin Kaepernick, but at the same time, you do want to give him some kind of credit for admitting it and wanting to change, but I would do more tests. How are you showcasing that you're willing to change? What else are you doing? What are you doing to these owners of the Houston Texans that are saying we can't give the keys to the prisoners? What are you doing to these owners that think of these players as a meat market and as just a money opportunity? There's trillions, billions of dollars that run through the NFL. Yes, they make a lot of money at playing, but you wouldn't make anything if they weren't playing. And so I'd like to test those people who we're wanting to give space to, as what you were referring to. Do more tests to make sure that what they are saying, they truly believe, because 5 years ago when Kaepernick was taking the knee and nobody listened to him, it could be the same scenario. I'm just blowing up smoke to take advantage of this marketing opportunity, but test that for years to come and make sure that there's rules and a contract that's in place that would at least take up the next 5 to 10 years to make up for that.
And all that's really fair, and I appreciate that for sure. Hey, I want to end on this because you're uniquely qualified to talk about what it's like being black in Salt Lake while playing a sport where people know who you are. One of the things that's been really bothersome to me is I know we have racists here. I know we have ignorant people here. But it's turned into like Utah's the most racist place in the world, and the narrative that's really bothering me is that, okay, because there are racists that live in Utah, Donovan Mitchell is going to leave. Like, Donovan Mitchell is beloved here. He walks on water here. What was your experience like as an athlete, the support you received here in Salt Lake, and what do you think about this narrative that seems to be out there that because there are a few folks here that need to learn and be better, Donovan's going to leave in free agency?
No, I wouldn't take that as Donovan leaving. As we have noticed in the last 10 years, the internet, social media is a dangerous place. That's why I really try not to be on it. I need it for other reasons, and I need to communicate with people that I haven't in a while, and keeps me in touch. But always be aware that the internet is a dangerous place. The preconceived notion of Utah I experienced before I got here, and a lot of people are like, "You're going to Utah? Oh, you better watch out. There's a lot of racists out there. You got to do this." And so you just had that. It's kind of like what people automatically think of people of color, is what I was telling you. They were depicted in movies as being gang members, drug dealers, servants, personal assistants, nobody of a higher ranking. That's how they were depicted. So when people see another person of color in America, in reality, that's what they think that person is. And that's what people have understood about Utah. It's 80+%, white. And so they think that, they've had one or two races that has made the media, and so they think that all of the 80% is racist. And that's not true at all. And that's why I tell people I love it here. And anybody that moves here can concur that this is an amazing place. But you do have to understand that, look, we're just under the scope of what people think on the outside, and we can't do nothing but live the way we know how. And that's not being racist, of course, but live prejudice-free and just go about things the way you know how. And, as I said, growing up, getting a scholarship here, people had this ideology that I was going to convert over to being Mormon. I was going to be susceptible to all kinds of racism and racial beatings. Like, this is what they told me when I was a 17-year-old kid in high school about coming to Utah, and it was nothing like that. I love it here. I think it's tremendous. It's the whole reason why I moved back and decided to settle here. I met my fiance here. I plan to live here for a very, very long time because of how much I love it. I think Donovan Mitchell's situation is unique because he has a platform, so he's speaking out for more people than himself. He went to a school in Louisville, and I don't know if anybody's really been to Louisville, but that is not the most that is an extremely racist place down there.
Yep.
It's a part of the South. I haven't experienced stuff in Louisville, but when I went to play there in 2007, when I went to go play the Titans, and I had to be our security advisors would tell us about walking around on the streets out there to be aware of certain things. But that's where Donovan Mitchell comes from. I actually don't know where Donovan Mitchell's actual home is. I believe it's the East Coast. But people don't understand is that's what he's came from. So when he's talking on social media, he's actually talking about not exactly his experience in Utah. So, I think he just posted something that said free-ish the other day,
Yep.
and people went ham on him. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? He has a platform like Colin Kaepernick where he can speak out for other people. And he's feeling some kind of emotions right now because of what he grew up in. You could tell in the last few years how beloved he is here in Utah. People love him. He loves it here. He had a playoff game, an elimination game. He stopped his car for a car accident and stood out there and waited for somebody to come help. Who does that? He loves this place, so don't get it twisted. I hope people would stop being Twitter monsters and charging people up and creating this negative environments for people to exist, and just understand where Donovan Mitchell is coming from. He went to school in Louisville. I don't know where he grew up, but I assure you it wasn't a place where it was acceptable to have equality the way it is in Utah. But I think he loves it here just from my visual experiences and me seeing him on the sidelines at Utah football games. The guy is tremendous. He is incredible for Utah, and I hope he stays here for as long as time may come. I wouldn't put the idea of him going to another team out there. Stop putting that into existence. He loves it here. Let's make sure that the people say, I love you here, instead of get out of here, we don't need you anyway. Don't be those kind of fans. We need to be the people like, we don't want you to go anywhere. Stay here and be successful.
Yeah, no, that's well put. We love him, and I think he knows that. Just don't let the trolls win, the anonymous cowards on the internet.
Right.
Sly, thanks so much for the time, man. I always appreciate it. Congrats on the engagement, by the way, and we'll chat soon, man. Stay safe, okay?
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.